season 2 finale of The Mandalorian. Jeff Lowe, Robbie Fox, KenJac here to talk about it, break it down, whatever the hell just happened, because it was crazy. It was insane. Actually, the three of us, we typically discuss it a little bit beforehand. We haven't even talked at all about it. I'll just say right off the top, KenJac, I'll start with you. Immediate thoughts on the last episode, which that sucks to say. Let's be honest. If there's one negative here, it's that I'm excited for WandaVision. I'm excited for Marvel stuff. We're Star Wars lists for a year. But KenJac, initial thoughts.
We're heading into the dry period, which is kind of a bummer. But the first thing I thought when I finished the episode was that I liked a lot of what they did. I don't love all of the execution of this episode, and I think that's kind of where I fall with it. I think the overall meta decisions were great. The micro ones maybe weren't brilliant, and we'll get a little bit more into that as we go. But overall, I think a decent send-off. But I'm not convinced it was a good send-off.
I think it was a good send-off. I don't know if I would go as far as saying it was like spectacular, blew away all expectations. I mean, there was stuff at the end that obviously did, which we'll get to, but there was some stuff that I wasn't like super hot on. There was some stuff that I was going crazy over in my apartment at 3 a.m. Right now, I still feel like I'm all out of sorts. It's 9 a.m. as we record this, 9:43, whatever. I got like 2-3 hours of sleep. And still, I have so many questions that are unanswered and are seemingly going to go unanswered for months that I don't know what to do with myself.
Yeah, that's kind of the beauty of what they did. They answered a lot, but then they opened up more questions than I think they had at the end of last season. There are a lot of questions, which is, I guess that's kind of the point of a show that has more than 2 seasons. It's not it's not just like, again, we did breakdowns for Watchmen. It's not like one small open-ended question to make you think, but everything else is wrapped up. There's a lot to get into. Let's just break down the episode. I like the episode a lot, but I want to discuss not my favorite episode of the season. We'll talk about favorite episodes of the season at the end, but I want to discuss kind of what happens. Let's just get into it. Let's not waste time. Opens up dogfight between Slave One and an Imperial shuttle. That's the most action we've ever seen from an Imperial shuttle. Who knew could even tilt sideways? Like I thought,
he's listing lazily to the left.
Yeah, it was unbelievable to see that ship not just move straight and it actually turn a little bit. So that was neat. They board the shuttle inside Slave One. Obviously, we know it's Fennec Shan, Cara Dune, Mando, and Boba Fett. They board that shuttle. Dr. Pershing, the clone doctor we've seen since season 1, since the first episode. He was on board as well. And actually, Cara Dune in one of the Imperial pilots get into a very interesting kind of heated back and forth because the Imperial pilot taunts Cara Dune about Alderaan. He's like, I was there. I saw it explode. I was on the Death Star. And she's like, which one? Which is like a little jab back. And he's like, really? He goes, you think that's fucking funny? How many millions of people we lost on that shit? He's like, and you all cheered for it. So I thought that was a neat... That's kind of like the beauty of this show is that it dives into things that you never really get to see in the movies or you think about and that big Star Wars fans always talk about. But like the only shows that like touch that, and Clone Wars does a little bit, but like that's new stuff. The only shows that touch it are like Robot Chicken or like Star Wars Family.
Yeah, right.
It's like the little things that you don't think of. Like they lost millions of people, and this guy's like you think that's funny? Like you're taunting me over that. We got killed too.
He could have just said, "Hey, you're from Alderaan. You lose anyone?" And that would have been an equally good insult.
Exactly. Yeah, I was almost expecting a Clerks reference, and I was almost expecting him to be like, "Listen, it wasn't only us; it was independent contractors,
janitors."
Yeah.
So they overtake that ship, and now they arrive on an unidentified planet, maybe identified at this point. I don't know, but when we're recording, unidentified, and we see Bo-Katan's ship. If you recognize her ship from the Clone Wars, you do that.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah, it was
such a cool ship.
They walk on into the bar. They see Bo-Katan there with Casca Reeves, who's played obviously by Sasha Banks, as we know, the wrestler. And they go over and they approach him and they talk a little bit. There's some tension still. Like Bo-Katan is still not the friendliest person in the world. She's still, she's got some thorns to her. She's kind of she's a villain, like in a sense, for a lot of the Clone Wars, at least to the viewer. And Mando says, like, look, we tracked down Moff Gideon. Like, he has the kid. Bo-Katan initially is like it's impossible. He's like, no, like, we have him. Trust me. Like, come with us. And she does agree, but she agrees on a couple with a couple riders to it. Says they got to get the cruiser at the end. She's like, look, if we take it over and we kill him, I need the cruiser. I want the light cruisers that can help retake back Mandalore. And she's like, the other thing is he has the Darksaber. I need the Darksaber. It's a very important thing. You can rule Mandalore with it, et cetera, et cetera. She's like, I need the Darksaber. But there's still a little back and forth because Boba's there. Boba not quite as easygoing as Mando. And Bo-Katan hears Boba's voice, notes too, says like, I've heard that voice 1,000 times, thousands of that voice before. Obviously,
the diss
because of which is a huge. It's one of two disses, which obviously he's the same voice as all the other clone troopers. And then she actually says he's like, that was my father, and she's like, that was your donor, which is that was
great line.
Definitely ruffled his feathers because obviously for him. Yes, that is technically true, but like he views Jango really as his father because he raised him at least for a little while, but he still died at a very young age.
Got decapitated big time.
Boba takes exception to that. He fights he fights Casca Reeves a little bit, but Bo-Katan stops him and says, "Look, if we had
fight though, they do the jetpack kata where like they fly off the walls and stuff. That was so sick."
Were there any notable wrestling moves in there?
Yeah, she hit him with like a tornado DDT. Basically, it was pretty sick.
It's so cool.
Bo-Katan stops and like, look, like we need to stop. Like if we had this same amount of ferocity, like with the Empire, we would have never lost Mandalore in the first place. Boba throws a comment about Mandalore. He's like, the Empire turned that shit into glass, which I think that is one of the biggest teases for next season. Mandalore is going to be a major part of the next season. We've heard that there's like almost conspiracy theories about what happened to Mandalore. Like some people believe it's gone. Some people say it's not as bad as you want to think. Like the Empire is misleading everybody. So they get back on the ship and they concoct a plan to go get Moff Gideon. Dr. Pershing kind of helps. We always kind of got the sense Dr. Pershing's not a full-on bad guy. Like he's just a Kaminoan he was on Kamino. Like he's a cloner guy. He's a cloner, and he's
a Baby Yoda guy.
Yeah, he's more about Baby Yoda than he is the Empire, and he kind of helps them and tells them, hey, look, there's going to be Dark Troopers there as well. Like you need to be aware of the Dark Troopers. So they try to figure out a plan where they're going to they're going to board the ship. Fennec Shand, Cara Dune, they're going to board the ship as well as Casca Reeve and Bo-Katan. They're going to board the ship and try to take everyone out while Mando slips behind, gets Grogu, and finds a way to basically disable the Dark Troopers before they can attack everybody, while the rest go after Moff Gideon. But Bo-Katan says something very important towards the end there before they jump into hyperspace and then go board that shuttle. She says, I don't care what the hell happens to Moff Gideon so long as he surrenders to me. Very key point. Not just a key point for the episode, but a key point now probably for the future of this show. So they jump out of hyperspace. They kind of draw in TIE fighters in the ship by pretending to have Boba Fett chase the Imperial shuttle they're on. So he's like fake shooting at them. And then
I love that plan. I thought that plan was so unique. Yeah,
it's a great plan. Great plan. And then they Moff Gideon and the Imperials, they launch a bunch of TIE fighters out of the launch tube, which we've never seen before. That was awesome. That was very cool.
So cool.
So the TIE fighters go after them, and Bo-Katan over the intercom with the ship, she's like, we're going to have to crash land. So she crash lands through the launch tube. Clearly Moff Gideon's like, all right, well, that's bullshit. Like something's going on here. As Boba Fett takes out the TIE fighters, and he blasts off into hyperspace. So they're in the ship now. In the boarding party, I'm going to refer to them as a boarding party. It's Bo-Katan, Casca Reeves, Fennec Shand, and Cara Dune. They exit the ship. They take out all the stormtroopers, killing everybody. And that's when Moff Gideon's like, all right, power up the Dark Troopers. And we learned earlier from Dr. Pershing, the Dark Troopers, they take a little time to boot up. They take a lot of battery power. So they boot up the Dark Troopers. Now, on pops Mando. He goes onto the ship as the rest of them are kind of firing all over the place. The Night Owls, they do this jetpack thing where they go underneath a bridge and wait for the stormtroopers to pop up, and they jump up and kill everybody. So this is a lot like the first episode of Bo-Katan. They're just boarding the ship and they're just slaughtering everybody. They're just making their way through the stormtroopers.
And Mando's doing a very Obi-Wan Kenobi on the Death Star maneuver through the entire thing.
Very, very Obi-Wan Kenobi.
So early on, too. Like, even at this point, I was like, oh, man, this feels like a movie. Maybe it was just by the nature of, like, the heroes boarding an enemy ship, like basically a Star Destroyer-looking ship. It felt cinematic, but I was like, this is... I could be watching this in a theater right now. It was amazing.
That's living up to the promise, right? From Disney. They say like movie quality stuff in their shows. And
they're not going to, which is why it's taken so long to get everything, which is what you hope the rest of them become. But even like the Cassian Andor Rogue One spinoff, like they're like, this is a movie. This is essentially a movie. So Mando encounters the Dark Troopers, but he encounters just one. He's able to shut the door just as they're about to break out, and he fights one, and he very clearly learns quickly that they're not easy to beat. Fire doesn't work. His whistling birds don't work at all. Everything he throws at the Dark Trooper doesn't work until finally he's able to take his spear, his Beskar spear, and stabs it through the neck and rips its head off. And then he goes over to the airlock, opens the airlock, and shoots out all the Dark Troopers off into space. Great move, but very clearly, Dark Troopers are almost impossible to kill. Essentially, they're their own version. It's like the Imperial version of Beskar at that point. Like they are,
and they're droids too.
Exactly.
I'm excited to see how they get rid of them at some point, because the First Order did not have them, as far as I know.
No, and also it's worth noting too. I feel like I imagine that there's some sort of Beskar involved with Dark Troopers too. Like there has to be, because the Empire has Beskar, right? Like that's what they give to Mando.
They steal all of it, like from Mandalore. So they must be using it for something. Maybe an alloy. That's
what I was thinking, that like the Dark Troopers have some sort of Beskar in there.
This is for Pedro Pascal. I would assume it's almost like PTSD from Game of Thrones, because he's getting his face pounded in by this Dark Trooper, and then he also has to do the spear fight too later on. So it's extremely what was it in the Viper? Very very much Viper vibes.
It was great as he was getting punched, like he was going through he was going to go through the wall before the helmet was going to break.
Yeah.
He's getting concussed out of his mind.
The boarding party, they enter the bridge, they kill everyone on the bridge, they stop all the weapons and everything, but they find that Moff Gideon is not there, and we find out that Moff Gideon is actually holding Grogu, Baby Yoda, at Darksaber point as Mando goes into his cell. And actually before that, he brutally kills a stormtrooper with his spear, takes him and chokes him to death.
He snaps his neck.
That was one of the more intense
Lifts him
Star
off the
Wars
ground.
kills. That was as intense of a kill as I've ever seen in Star Wars. He just absolutely obliterates him. So Moff Gideon is there. He's kind of taunting him. He kind of explains things. He explains the Darksaber, explains Mandalore and how important it is. And he goes, this is what Bo-Katan is looking for. He's like, I predicted all of your moves. I know everything that you've done. He's like, I know you've shot your whistling birds off. I know you've been traveling with Bo-Katan. He's like, she wants this thing right here. And he says, look, I don't give a shit about that stupid like light. He still doesn't really know what it is. Like that fucking light thing, basically. Like it means nothing to Mando, the Darksaber. He's like, I just want the baby. I just want the child. That's all I care about. And so Moff Gideon's like, oh, okay, you can take it. You just got to get the fuck out of here. He goes, if you take it, you got to leave. And so Mando goes and approaches it, and Moff Gideon's going to double cross him, hits him with the Darksaber, but sees quickly that Mando very much covered in Beskar, so he's not able to penetrate him. Mando fends off, much like he did with Ahsoka Tano, fends off the Darksaber with like his arms and everything and all of his Beskar, but then he finally picks up the spear, and we get what we expected. There's a spear Darksaber duel, which is awesome. it's
when he
cool.
whips that spear out, if you didn't stand up and say, oh fuck, in your living room, like, do you have a pulse, bro? Do you even have a pulse? Because that was amazing.
He does that one move where it flips over and he kicks it back forward. Oh man, he knows how to fight with any weapon in the world. This guy's a spear master. It's incredible.
And the way that they were clashing, and you could see the Beskar like heating up every time the lightsaber would go against it. That was so sick.
I love that
this fight scene went down is amazing.
I love that it can't cut through, but it can really get it going, though. It's like it's heating up. Like it's still pretty good. And I don't know if and I wonder too, because we didn't really see that with did the spear light up when we first saw it with Ahsoka?
I don't think so.
I don't know if they had like one of those, classic Star Wars hold the lightsaber against the other lightsaber type moment. I think they did more glancing blows.
I do wonder if the Darksaber, because it's Mandalorian, can maybe cut or can come closer to cutting through Beskar. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything.
Like if you just hold it there for a while, maybe you could just bend it a little. You give him a little Count Dooku blade.
Like when you get those shitty spoons at a restaurant that you can bend, like Chili's. Yeah. So he wins the duel. He disarms Moff Gideon. He holds him at spear point, and Moff Gideon's like, "Oh, you're keeping me alive." He says, "Like this is going to get interesting." So he then drags his ass over to the bridge. And immediately Moff Gideon, you can just see he's loving it, because he's like, you don't even know what you've just done. And he kind of taunts the fact that Mando just won the Darksaber, not Bo-Katan. We heard earlier in the episode, she said, look, he has to surrender to me. She didn't explain why. Foolish move on her part. She should have said something. That's on her. Definitely should have said that.
100%.
She's make sure if you start fighting him, you call me and I'll swoop in there.
Yep.
Exactly.
She's pretty flush in the face, and we will break this down when we talk after the breakdown of the episode, we're going to talk about this because this is a very pivotal thing. Raised a lot of questions online because we've seen the transition and the passing off of the Darksaber before in many different ways to many different people. And we'll talk about the significance of this one being different because Moff Gideon says the saber has no power. It's the story. Like the story of the Darksaber is all that matters for Mandalore because it's not like you're getting a key to Mandalore. Like it's not like you go into the White House and you like just run the country. Like just because you have it doesn't mean you run Mandalore. It just means you have a cool weapon. Like the story is what allows a Mandalorian to rule Mandalore when they get that Darksaber. And if she doesn't win it, she can't really rule. And she's like, yeah, that's right. She confirms what Moff Gideon says. And Mando's like, what the fuck? Just take it. Like, just take this. I was like, I don't want it. I just want the kid. Like, I have the child. That's all I care about. But as they're kind of going back and forth, you think something's going to come to a head and you're like, they may fight here. The Dark Troopers are back, which that's, I don't want to say it's predictable because predictable is the wrong word, but like, they were flying in space earlier. When they got jettisoned off, I'm like, well, they're not just dead. Like they're coming back. Like,
they were going to have one
easy,
fight, one-on-one fight, and the whole brigade is just destroyed. No way. So
they close the blast doors, and here come the Dark Troopers are punching their way through. And at first, I'm like, oh, we're going to be here for an hour. This is going to take. No, they're making some movement, and they're getting really close. And just as they're about to make that one last punch through, there's a ship that comes on the radar, and it's an X-wing. You kind of figured who it was. But at that point, I was still but there's a lot of X-Wings in the world. Like, there's got to be a lot of X-Wings. Like, maybe somebody has an X-Wing.
It was Dave Filoni in his blaster.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, what if it was just, like, one of, like, the regular guys? They're just like, hey, how you doing? Like, we got guns. So they're on this guy pops out, ignites a green saber. That's clue number 2. And just starts cutting through all of the Dark Troopers. No music yet either. That's another key. They didn't have any real giveaway of who it was with the music because that would have been a very dead giveaway. And I think the final clue that really sealed it was you saw the black glove. And that's when you figured probably Luke Skywalker. And so this Jedi, again, we still don't quote unquote know who it is just slicing the Dark Troopers in half. Gideon is stunned. Bo-Katan's like, holy shit, it's a Jedi. Gideon's now very worried. We actually were wondering last episode if Moff Gideon was worried at the end when Mando was taunting him. I don't think he was. This was him worried. He was worried.
Yeah.
Now he was like, this is the problem. He tries to get out of it.
He tried to kill himself.
Yeah, he shoots Bo-Katan, and I don't think he kills Bo-Katan, but he definitely injures her, knocks her down.
No, he doesn't. I watched it back. She stands up at the end, so she's good.
Okay. That's right, because she is in the back. That's right. She doesn't kill him, but knocks him down because she has all of her armor on. He goes to shoot Grogu. Mando jumps in front and saves Grogu, and then he goes to kill himself, which is not entirely surprising because we've seen that with the Imperials now. Like they're
with Bosch.
Yeah, right. It's right.
Bosch literally just brought the whole ship down. Yeah,
it's very Nazi. It's very Hydra. It's long live the Empire. But Cara Dune beats the shit out of him. Just punches him in the face, elbows him. That very UFC knocks him to the mat. He's out. He's out like a light. And then one last time, very much similar to like his father before him in a hallway, like at the end of Rogue One, Luke Skywalker just cuts down every single Dark Trooper, throws like pieces of Dark Trooper to take other Dark Troopers.
The crushed one is the best one. I love when you see Luke doing like dark shit a little bit with the Force. It is so cool. He fucking imploded him. It was so sick.
So he walks in into the bridge. Mando lets him in. Mando knows like I gotta give Grogu to this person, and then he pulls off the hood, and it is Mark Hamill. It is not Sebastian Stan. It is Mark Hamill. They de-age Mark Hamill. We saw that in Rise of Skywalker. We saw that in Rogue One. It's happened before in Star Wars, and we'll get into all that in a minute. But it is Luke voicing it as well, and Luke he's kind of looks at Grogu. He's like, "Come on, come with me. Let's go." Like, he has no time. He has no time to waste. He's like,
he's just taking him. And I wasn't ready. I just straight up wasn't ready for the big daddy moment we got here.
I was laying down and I actually sat up when the X-Men came in. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? I was like, holy shit. Because like we talked about it. We've talked about Luke, but like you don't. And I knew you kind of knew it was a possibility. And now that it happened, you're like, that was the one that made sense. Like it just makes sense. But I kind of sat up. I was like, what?
Did you guys expect it to be Sebastian Stan? I definitely did.
I
was like,
I 100%. I was waiting for the reveal to be Sebastian Stan with like a little tiny prosthetic lip makeup, and that's it. And it wasn't.
I will know. I want to note something about that viral image that always goes around. That is severely photoshopped. They look a lot alike. That is a severely photoshopped image, and people pass around like, well, why wouldn't they do this? He's a clone, basically. Like, all right, like let's. They look a lot alike. They don't look that alike. Like they got to dial that one back a little bit. But he could still play him. And again, we'll get into.
And as soon as I saw him, we'll get into the CGI, I guess. But like, I saw some people shitting on it online. People said it looks like a Snapchat filter, and there were definitely some scenes where you could be like, "Oh,
it's a little wonky."
I think they're using a deep fake there." Yeah. At the same time, it was so good that when he initially takes the hood off. Yeah. I was like, holy shit, that looks like fucking Mark Hamill. Like, what is going on right now? That's Mark Hamill. Like, it was good enough to get me shocked when I first saw it. So I felt like people were making it out to be like it was cringeworthy. I don't think it was.
No, I don't. I really don't think it was. I think the Leia one was stunning in Rogue One. You were like, whoa. But I like it didn't. But I think the eyes are the one thing that were kind of weird for me. But it really wasn't
like almost the neck, like where the face connects to the chin and stuff.
I'm a bad person.
Part of the problem was that there was a lot of shadowing on his face during that whole scene, and I think that Snapchat filter effect is where that really kind of that hit for me, where I was like, this looks like shit. This just does not look good. This CGI rendition of his face. I would have rather they just used a Mark Hamill. It just didn't look good.
Yeah, he's too old. No way.
Was it The Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker one looked better than this one?
Have you seen him though in those Uber Eats? No, yeah, I don't think so. Have you seen him in the Uber Eats commercials? He's too old. Like he's just they absolutely could not have brought him in. And I actually saw the commercial.
No, I don't think they should have. Absolutely not. And I just think the CGI really did not look good.
I think it's the best they could do. I'm a bad person to ask this because I've never thought they all looked that bad anyway. Like I just never thought Tarkin looked bad. I never thought Leia looked like it. It just has never really bother me, but I think they knew as well. We'll get to that though, because we got to talk about just Luke in general beyond just this episode, because he isn't there that long. They hide his face for most of it. He isn't there that long. His
voice is perfect. Like Mark Hamill, the way he got his voice, like I know it sounds obvious, like it's Mark Hamill doing his own voice, but his voice doesn't sound like that anymore. So I don't know if there was computer effects to like digitally heighten it a little, but
partially some older dialogue, because. So some of those lines I think are repurposed lines from previous in the movies, because and when you hear them, you can kind of hear the lo-fi-ness of the older movies, right? So I'm listening to it and I'm like, that's definitely a line you said before.
Yeah. Sounded good though. Yeah. I think the sound was good. And we'll talk a little more about just like the CGI and like the implications for the future of if we will see Mark Hamill again as Luke Skywalker. But I think there's going to be, I think it's like the ones, though I will say this, I think there was a more positive reaction than I actually expected. Again, I'm a bad person to say this because I never had an issue with the Rogue One, and I was actually surprised after Rogue One when people had such an issue. So there was a little bit where you're like, But again, we'll get back to that. Let's talk about the rest of the episode. He wants Grogu. Mando's like, well, he doesn't want to go with you, man. Like he doesn't want to leave. He's having some connection. He's like, I don't want to get separate, but it looks like he's asking you for permission. Like he wants to go, but he wants your permission to go. And so he picks up Grogu. Mando does. He goes, look, if you want to go, like you can go. And it looks like he's got raw power but he's got to have practice. Like he needs training or it means nothing. Like it's useless. And then Grogu touches his helmet, and then you can start to get emotional watching this. Then he finally takes off the helmet. He lets him touch his actual face, which again we've been leading up to that. That made complete sense. You're like, all right, this is the moment we've been wanting. Grogu, he embraces Mando and the actual Mando, Din Djarin himself, not just the armor. And then in rolls R2-D2. That one I did not expect. Didn't expect to see that. Who that was like. It's so weird that you're like a fake robot got his payoff, but you always felt like R2 didn't really get his due in the sequel trilogy ever. Like there was never a point where you're like, man, they really kind of gave R2 his swan song. This kind of felt like they gave him like his due for this. Not to drag the sequels too much into this, but that felt cool to see R2. And I guess R2 was cute enough for Grogu to be interested because he's like, I'm into that. Like that's cool.
He's like, it's beeping.
I remember that guy.
Yeah. So he goes on with Luke, and Luke picks him up, and he's like, I promise I'll do everything to protect him. And Mando, even Din Djarin, says to him, like I will see you again.
Ron Howard voice, he did not do a good job at protecting his students.
Again, we'll get to that. That's a big massive. That's one of the massive questions. And then they walk away as the Luke Skywalker theme plays. Din Djarin's tearing up. Mando's crying. Mando is very sad. And they all look on the bridge, and then bang, over. Done. Dunzo.
What a final shot, too. Beautiful.
Yeah, cool to see the characters wrap up. Opens up tons of questions. However, if you were an eagle-eyed viewer and you press that play button just to see how much time is left, you saw KenJac, you didn't get to the post-credit scene initially.
I was going through, and I always watch the credits just to see who's like involved, like the voices and all that shit. And I go through and I see Bib Fortuna, and I'm like, when the fuck was Bib Fortuna in this episode? So I text Jeff, and like before Jeff responds to me, I get to this post credit, and Jeff's like, "Oh yeah, dude, wait for the post credit."
Yeah. So I fast forwarded. I was like, I'll get back to the credits. There's something at the end here. And sure enough, bang, hit play. You see Jabba's palace. You're like, all right, well, I expected them. You can't just blast Boba off into space. You got to tell me where he goes. He obviously comes back and gets Fennec Shand. That's worth noting because he's with Fennec Shand. Yep. So he comes back at some point. I imagine we'll see that take place. I think the next season will likely pick up where it leaves off. We will talk about the next season, and what we're about to get teased here in the post-credit scene is that at Jabba's palace, Bib Fortuna, fat as shit. He is just taking up the throne. Literally, he's a big guy now.
Mm-hmm.
He's a unit.
Looks like my 600-pound life on TLC. He's just he's a unit now. Yeah.
He's sitting on the throne. He's talking to all of his cronies. Some are still alive from Jabba's palace. They didn't go on the sail barge and die. In walks Fennec Shand, kills everybody, and then Boba walks in, and Bib Fortuna's like, "Oh, I heard rumors you were alive. Like, what's going on, buddy?" Clearly nervous, and then Boba just fucking shoots him right in the face, kills him, rips him off the throne, and now Boba which was amazingly badass. It was really cool. He sits on the throne now. He is the crime lord of Tatooine. He rules Tatooine now, basically.
Very Conan the Barbarian vibes to that sit in that the whole sequence really, but the big sit down and then Fennec Shand coming and sitting on the arm of the chair. Oh, it was so sick. It was so cool.
She had like the spatchka or whatever. She's
she's taking swigs.
Like, I love how slimy Bib Fortuna was too. The way, Boba, I heard rumors. He was perfect.
And it teases the book of Boba coming December 2021. So this is kind of a big question we don't know. And I don't know if we're getting 2 shows next December. I think we might. Mandalorian starts December 25th, 2021, which is over a year away. I would think we've heard rumors of this being a limited series, like a very short series of Boba. I think we're going to get Boba for 4 or 5 longer episodes, and then it goes into Mandalorian. I think that's what's going to happen. They didn't announce the Boba show at the Disney Plus thing. And I think they did that because they didn't want to spoil this ending, which makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Based on everything I'm reading, what I'm seeing, I don't think this means that Mandalorian Season 3 is Boba Fett. I think this means we're going to get very similar to doing with the Justice League. I think we're going to basically get a movie, but it's going to, because they're filming it now. They're filming the Boba thing now. That's been confirmed. It has been officially announced by Disney until now at the end of the episode. I think we're going to get 4 episodes or 5 episodes of Boba Fett, and then we get Mandalorian kicks off on December 25th, 2021. So that's just kind of my quick thoughts on that.
I can see that. A little limited series, give us some more Boba action, a little bit of a conclusion, or even almost like a primer for a big season 3, because we have no clue where season 3 is going to go.
Yep.
You're giving me a lot of hope there, because I was very much worried when I saw that and saw December 2021. I was like, is next season just, are we abandoning Mando? Because
there's no way. There's too many unanswered questions. Too.
It's like, but the finale at the same time was like sort of like what I thought the series finale was going to be in a weird way. So I was like, are we going to like pick up with him later? Is this where, hey, he's fulfilled his shit for now? I don't know.
No, I think I don't know for sure. I think if that's one of your worries, I think set that worry aside. Like I would lay a lot down on that being the case, because it was very odd they moved it to Christmas 2021. I thought that was strange that they delayed it from November all the way back. I think we're going to get because it's been said to be a limited series, the Boba thing. I think we are going to get a short limited series, and then we go into Mandalorian. Because I think
that would
a lot
be fucking amazing.
That'd be awesome. I would love that. And I think the limited series angle is going to be a thing that goes forward as well. We're going to see that with the Cassian Andor Rogue One series. Before we get into questions, let's talk about Easter eggs. And this is actually one of the big questions, though, so we'll tie it into this. The Darksaber. Obviously, we've seen it, so not an Easter egg. But let's talk about the fact that Bo-Katan would not accept the Darksaber. We've seen her accept the Darksaber before. She did that in Star Wars Rebels. Sabine Wren, Clan Wren, gave her the Darksaber. Sabine Wren was a character we thought we'd see this season. We did not see her. I imagine we still may see her next season. Gave her the Darksaber, and she had the Darksaber. We don't know still how she loses it to Moff Gideon. I assume we'll find that out next time. There's a lot of questions of like, well, why is she so stubborn? Like, why would she take it from Sabine Wren but not take it from Mando? I think the difference, and I scoured the Star Wars Reddit, and I kind of came up with my own theories, and I think I'm kind of combining a few, and I think this is where I'm landing on it. Sabine Wren never won the Darksaber from Darth Maul. She found it, right? Like she found the saber, and then she gave it to her in front of Mandalorians. All like the clans accepted it. They acknowledged it. None of those were here for this. And on top of that, clearly Bo-Katan had lost the Darksaber and then needed to win it back. And I imagine it happened in a very embarrassing, shameful way when she lost the Darksaber. Because you imagine she lost the Darksaber during the Great Purge when they lost Mandalore. And now there's no one there to, I think, be there for a quote-unquote ceremony and for her to take up that throne if the story is that important. So I think that's kind of the key difference. It will be explained. Dave Filoni didn't just retcon his own story. Like
exactly, it's like
well,
the people that thought that they just didn't line it up. It's like it's Dave Filoni.
It's gonna be a lot of speculation on that. But KenJac, I'll give you your thoughts because I think that's where I land on it.
If she had won the saber, if she had beaten Moff Gideon, killed him, and taken the saber from him, there would still be the same amount of people there to witness the story regardless. It would be basically him and Sasha Banks, or her and Sasha Banks. And so I don't quite understand why she can't take it and go back and just say she won it, since there's literally no witnesses that are going to ever cross paths in Mandalore ever again. It's her and Sasha Banks.
Mando is basically telling her to do that.
Mando's like, I don't care. I yield. He said, I give up. That's it.
Just fucking.
They are very prideful people, though. Like, that is the thing. Like, they're very prideful in the story and the idea. And that's kind of what Moff Gideon was saying, right? Like, the story.
She can make her own story, which is the part where it doesn't make sense. Like, the story is like to her. She writes it.
But for me, it does, though, because I think Bo-Katan, that character, is someone who wouldn't live with the fact that they're just lying. Like, they wouldn't just sit there and lie about it.
Her character at the same time is like she was looking at Mando funny-eyed when he was like, why are you taking your helmet off? It's like she's not into all those, crazy themes, but she's into
heavy enough into it with Death Watch. Like, she's that hardcore into the martial society of Mandalore and all that shit. But like, Mando and the Night Watch, or whatever they're called, like, they're too far. Like, she's very picky and choosy with what she's choosing to be fanatical about. And this to me just doesn't make sense. But again, it's Filoni, and I'm assuming there's
I think they'll explain
grander reason
that's my
behind it.
thing. Like, it didn't make sense at first. That was my first question. I was like, huh? And then I kind of thought about it. So maybe mine might be far-fetched, but I think I get the reasoning. Like, I do think so I'll say this. The transfer of the saber, I think, is very clearly different. Like, I think the Sabine Wren thing, she never won it. Like, that's why she could gift it over. But I do get what you are saying, though. Like, she could just lie about it. I'll explain it away like that for now. Like, maybe she's just simply too prideful. But also, again, like, if this was if Dave Filoni made that story 30 years ago and then someone else new came in and did it, I'd be like, well, what is this? Like, but I think because it's him, they're like, all right, we're just gonna have to wait. Like, I think that's simple.
And he made that story very recently.
What would happen if you challenge someone to combat and you want to be the ruler of Mandalore, let's say, and you challenge me to combat and I have the Darksaber? What if I just say I yield? You can never be the ruler of Mandalore because you can't fight me. You can literally never fight me because I just said I yield.
I'll say
Take
this.
the lightsaber.
If a UFC champ doesn't want to defend his title, he can vacate the title, but he can't give it to someone else. He or she. You know what I mean?
So you could just drop it on the ground and someone else could take it.
You could drop it, and it's like you guys could fight for it, but you can't just pick it up and it's yours now.
That's the biggest question of the season for me, is I want to see how that's explained. But I think that, again, plays into why I'm confident that the next season's still The Mandalorian, and it's more about Mandalore, because that's going to have to be explained. We're going to have to see how Bo-Katan lost it to Moff Gideon. I think it leaves that open. Again, if it wasn't Filoni doing this, I'd probably be a little like, what did they just do?
Like, you guys fucked this up. But it's Filoni. So
clearly there's a very deep explanation of it for him. So I imagine we'll get that at some point. Other Easter eggs, we saw the Imperial Shuttle. Saw Imperial Shuttle pilots for the first time. They suck. They're lame as hell.
Yeah.
They're the worst ones.
They got like Snoopy hats.
They do. They have
like a Russian tank commander hats.
At the academy, when they get their assignment, they got to be like, you got to be fucking. That's the lamest one.
Maybe that's why they're such dicks to Cara Dune. It's like their whole life they've been angsty in that little shuttle.
It was cool to see Slave One use the ion cannons to disable the Imperial shuttle. Yeah. Thought that was really neat. We hadn't really seen that. We've seen ion cannons plenty before in Star Wars, but live action, have we seen a ship fire an ion cannon?
Not in live action. I don't think so. Wait, they think they did in. I think they did. I remember them shooting and like having like the electrical effect of like a ship shutting down. Right. But I forget which one it is.
Yeah, we've probably seen it. You're right. I just can't think of the exact spot. Dark Troopers.
Wait, the fucking cannon, the titty cannon. The titty cannon is an ion cannon.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because
the titty cannon's one.
This one wasn't a giant boob nipple gun. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
I knew. Okay.
Fire giant boob nipple
gun. I thought we'd seen it, but it's because it didn't look like a giant boob nipple gun. Dark Troopers. Phase 3 Dark Troopers. They cleared that up, which I thought was neat that they went that specific. So if you know Dark Troopers, you've been following Dark Troopers for years, you know that Phase 3, they're the kind of more macho-looking ones, and they talked about the fact that they didn't work with the humans, the clones, because the clones, again, it's a very dark story, which I hope they get more into, because it's fucked, and it'd be neat to see Star Wars get like that dark. Like that some of them killed themselves, and like they went rogue, and like they couldn't be the combo of the Dark Trooper. Jabba's palace. You wanted a Rancor Easter egg? On the chair Babe Fortuna is sitting on, there is like a carved out bronze Rancor symbol on each side of the arms of the chair.
I didn't notice that. I'm gonna have to go back and check that out. Wow.
I thought he was gonna try and lure Boba over the trap and try and spring in. Boba's gonna be like, come on, you know me better than I know this place.
Yeah. I wish it would be funny. He's like, he's dead. Like I watched the guy die. I watched the thing die. Like
I was here. Yeah. What are you talking about?
Casca Reeves makes a comment about a Bacta tank to Boba Fett. Says you'll be talking through the window of a Bacta tank. The Bacta tank, that's the big tank that diaper Luke Skywalker was in. Not sure you can talk in one of those things, but I think that's kind of the point. Like you're basically incapacitated. You're almost dead. The Gauntlet Bo-Katan ship was very cool to see in live action. I imagine we'll get much more of that, not just sitting there. We saw an RA-7 protocol droid, a Death Star droid, walking around Moff Gideon's ship. We heard the word McClunky. That's the word that oddly got thrown in for the always edited Greedo Han Solo Who Shot First scene. We heard him say
when
McClunky
did we hear this?
In the Blu-ray edit. No, it was the edit for the 3D version that never got released in theaters is the one that got uploaded to Disney
I know
Plus.
that. When did we hear it in this episode?
At the end, Jabba's palace.
Really?
One of the dialogue moments that Bib says, Yep.
Unbelievable. I didn't put that together. I did notice there was one scene where I think it's Bo-Katan where they're like raiding the ship and she dodges a laser like that. She just like
it's Fennec Shand. It was so sick.
I was Fennec. And I was like, that's like kind of like the Han Solo like digitally move the head.
There were some menu items. This is because of Wikipedia. There were menu items in that bar. One was shocks and Kadu, which are from Naboo. Shocks are the big testicle things that Luke and Padme are running around with. Remember those?
Oh, wow.
Classic
Anakin,
And Kadus are the, not basketball gamblers, Kadu. They are things that Gungans ride on Naboo. So they were
like the
wet horses.
Bro, that was one of my favorite toys as a kid because you could push down on the little saddle and the legs would move back and forth.
And then the last one,
fighters.
the last Easter egg. The last Easter egg is in Jabba's palace. I'm pretty sure we saw Rai Stahl Sant, which is a member of Max Rebo's band. That's kind of the white character with the red hair. One of Max Rebo's backup singers. So she was there. That was absolutely her, which that is the one that got
Next season, they need to put Ludwig Göransson in the Max Rebo band.
They really should.
Put that guy in alien paint or something. That would be amazing.
Max Rebo, obviously very much dead, died on Slave One, on Jabba's sail barge. Here are the questions. First question is from me. Do Cara Dune and Bo-Katan know who Luke Skywalker is? Like, do they not?
Like, I would assume no. They're also like 30 years older than him, right? Like at this point, how old is Luke? Like because they fought with Anakin. Like Bo-Katan did.
Bo-Katan fought with, but Bo-Katan, like I get Bo-Katan not knowing. Cara Dune being a rebel and not like
true.
They should know who Luke is. Maybe
she's not being like holy shit.
Basically he's still working for the rebels. It's not
which again that could be like we start the next season and she could be like that was fucking Luke Skywalker. Like maybe that's what she says.
We just pick up like the closing shot where they like panned out. It's like we just push back in. And it's like holy shit, that was fucking Luke.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? Yeah.
Everyone's question. This is everyone's. Does Kylo kill Baby Yoda? Does Kylo kill Grogu? We know that Kylo slaughters most of the Jedi, takes some of them and they become the Knights of Ren, slaughters most of the Jedi at Luke's Academy. I am still very firm on that not being the case because you cannot turn Ben Solo into a hero at the end of Rise of Skywalker and then just have him apparently have murdered Baby Yoda. And I also think that
Baby Yoda's a Knight of Ren is what we're trying to say.
Yes.
Obviously.
He's on stilts. That's how he's able to be as tall as a Knight of Ren. I am confident that we're going to see
Which
Baby
I just
Yoda
realized
again.
would mean he would also got killed by Kylo Ren because Kylo Ren killed all the Knights of Ren.
Yeah.
But Din says to him, I'll see you again. I would imagine we see Baby Yoda leave the academy. Remember, that's also 20 years down the road. Like that's about 25 30 years. 25 years down the line. I think Grogu will be more than able to leave the academy by then. I don't think I'm confident. I know it's what people are going to say. I'm confident that Kylo Ren does not kill Grogu. Like
I hope
almost
so.
100% sure.
I'll say this though. All the people that said, how could Luke ever have that fleeting moment in his brain where he fucking thought about killing his own nephew? What if Luke saw a vision of Kylo Ren hit one to the chest and igniting the lightsaber through Grogu like he did his own father? What if he saw something more brutal, like him slicing Grogu's head off? I'm sorry if that's too vicious an image.
No, it has to be. You need to get this image into people's heads.
That's what I mean. Think about that.
It could still happen.
What if that's why Luke was like, holy shit, I might need to fucking kill this psychopath. Is he going to kill Baby Yoda? Like, okay. Now try to fucking, tell Luke he was a psychopath for that. He would do the same.
I think something they show all throughout all the Star Wars stuff is like Jedi being out on missions and going to the temples and all like the sacred sites. I mean, Baby Yoda could be off doing literally anything else. I don't think he gets killed.
No,
he escaped the Anakin thing. He could escape this one. Like Jeff said, you hit him once, you could hide him
escape
again.
Order 66. You escape whatever lame ass thing Kylo Ren did. At Roth from Wyoming says, "Are you surprised we didn't see anyone die?" A little bit.
I am.
A little bit. I thought Fennec Shan was going to die. It just kind of.
Me too.
She was one that made sense, but now she's part of the Boba story. So and actually, I think if you would have told me before the episode no one dies, I might have said like, kind of need some death. But now, but I think
because we had who died? Nick Nolte died at the end of the first season. Like you need, I think, like one good main character death so that like you keep us on our toes. I expected
took away Grogu,
and
I think that was kind of the emotional punch.
Razor Crest.
He did lose the ship. I think taking away Grogu, I think that was kind of the big emotion. You almost lay on too many emotional moments. I think I think that makes sense. I think that I ended up having no issue with it. At Bstock72 says, will season 3 be more about building Mandalore? I think clearly yes. I think because you're going to open season 3 and they still have to figure out what they do with the Darksaber now. Like that's still.
Do they have this ship now? Or do you think they're gonna like just be on this ship for season 3?
There still has to be a lot of crew members left. I mean, there's a whole complement of TIE fighters in there. They didn't kill every single trooper on there. There's a lot of shit left to do.
Clear it out and just have it like Zombie Land, where it's like, all right, I guess this is all ours now.
Yep.
I think there's going to be something down the line where Mandalorian's either going to join up with them as their cause, or he's going to have to be on the run now for Mandalorians too, because he's in possession of the Darksaber.
True.
Yeah, and that's obviously the big question going into the next season. Andy,
he's like, I don't want this thing.
He's going to do the Luke. He's going to throw it over his shoulder. I don't give a shit about this.
Andy _Dreyfus says, will we see the Hutt clans next season? I think we'll see the Hutts with Boba Fett. I think we're going to see the return of the Hutts, which is awesome. I hope
he's got a sleazeball nephew or something hanging around.
They have been wanting to do.
He already has one.
They've been wanting to do a crime. A crime world, seedy underworld thing for Star Wars for years, and we're finally going to get it with Boba Fett. I think we're going to finally get just crime, just scum, villainry, just awful people with the Boba Fett. What I imagine is a mini series, and then finally,
and there's all the other syndicates too, right? Like the ones that helped actually take Mandalore the first time around. You get to have battles versus them.
At HL Movies, last question says, if they want to keep Luke, not a question, a comment, they need to cast a real actor. So let's get back to kind of what we said about Luke. I think very clearly, them making Luke not show his face the entire fight up until he reveals at the end. I think they know, like, look, this doesn't look perfect. I think it was, here's your little cameo. You may see him again when maybe Mando gets Grogu. I think it's clear that if we see Luke, it would either be in a cameo role or someone else will be cast. I think that was kind of the message they sent today. You're not going to see a full episode of mocap de-age Luke. I just don't see it happening.
Do you think he's
coming? There's no chance.
Do you think we see him
as like a season regular or like recurring
at all?
Cameo.
I think cameo at best, probably not though. If anything, it's like a rescue.
Here's my question, as a Baby Grow lover, how do we get him back in this show? What's the avenue to doing that?
It's a good question because it's weird because the Mandalorian obviously needs to go in a direction which isn't just him being on the run with Baby Yoda. Like you can't just have that be the driver for.
Yeah,
exactly. That can't be the main point of the series. But also, obviously, they're not going to just abandon Baby Yoda as a character forever in this show. Like I don't think that's going to be the plan. So I don't know. I'm very intrigued to see where it's going to go now.
With him in the Ahsoka show.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe a time jump for season 3.
No, remember it's within the timeline of the Mandalorian. It's within the same time. At least that's how they teased it. So I think there's a very high chance we see Luke, and I think they will recast. I think for this was a very big nod to Mark Hamill.
I think it's also important that every casting got out on deadline or whatever this season. And them not casting anyone for this might have been hey, let's make sure this doesn't leak.
Yeah, I do think they will cast. I think they know I think them showing him cloaked. I know that was for a reveal, but I think that was a lot to hide the fact they didn't want to just do this constant de-aging. I think that was a very clear sign that they will recast Luke Skywalker if or when they use him down the road, which I think they will. But they recast Han Solo and shit did not go well, partly because of bad marketing. I will always say that. They marketed the movie for 3 months, but it didn't go well, even though Han Solo, Harrison Ford liked Alden Ehrenreich. So I think that's a very massive step they take. And that's a breaking of a wall that is a very big deal if they recast. But I think it was a sign they were going to recast. I think they wanted to give Mark Hamill a little something, He's made comments about the sequel trilogy. He made comments about how he wanted to see Star Wars, and he got his very badass lightsaber with Mark Hamill's face moment, and to be in the black again and to have the lightsaber. So I think I think that was kind of another giving his due moment type thing too.
Remember when we convinced people in Times Square that KenJac was Han Solo?
Yeah, it's true.
That's one of the funniest, underrated things. We just completely convinced everyone he was Alden Reich.
Those German tourists were convinced. They had no clue.
Predictions for season 3? It's Mandalore heavy, and I want to know that last episode. Remember, we didn't have Grogu at all, and I was like, holy shit, I didn't even realize that until 2 hours after the episode. I think they learned quickly last episode too that you can do this show without Baby Yoda and have people like episodes. I'm not saying he's going to be gone forever, but I think they can do a decent part of the season without him. And the Mandalorian stuff is incredibly intriguing and badass and awesome. I mean, the consensus I saw from Twitter this morning and I saw from Reddit is people saying what I think. And I think this is the best live action Star Wars thing we've gotten since The Empire Strikes Back. I think it's just, it's awesome, badass Star Wars stuff. This is the best Star Wars stuff we've gotten probably since Empire Strikes Back. I think it's what we all were looking for. It's serious. Something plane going over top? What's happening here?
You can't hear it.
Maybe Slave One.
Okay. Yeah, I thought Boba Fett was going to land near me. It is fun, awesome Star Wars shit that, yes, it takes itself seriously, but there's just a different vibe to it. And it's hard to explain without talking for an hour about it, and we'll wrap this up, but there's just a different vibe with The Mandalorian that feels like old Star Wars that they captured so well. That's kind of my final thoughts on the end of the season. It's an awesome season. There's only one episode that at the end I was like, which Peyton Reed directed this one. Yeah, Peyton Reed directed the one I didn't like. He did this one. I thought he did a good job with it. So there's just a vibe with this that feels very different than everything else. And I like the sequel trilogy too, up until probably Rise of Skywalker. I didn't love Rise of Skywalker, but this is different. There's just a vibe that feels a lot like the original stuff, and that's why people love it.
I think that's big time. Just the fact that the first trilogy is so much about character development. That was the Krasn effect. It's so much about, making you invested in these people and seeing them grow and seeing them evolve and seeing them struggle, seeing them elevate past struggles and people being three-dimensional and all that. And it's more than just effects and action and that. And it's you're seeing these people grow, and at the same time you are seeing cool practical effects, which we love about Star Wars, and we love that they're edging back away from the green screen era and all that. And we also do get to see now elevated green screen and movie budget shit like the fucking Crate Dragon, which is an insanely huge effect to see in a TV series. Things like that cool new characters, like little references, which I have said a million times and I'll say it again, like infrared stuff that's for us as Star Wars fans that regular people won't notice and still enjoy the series a lot. It's amazing. And I think Favreau and Filoni are incredible at this. I don't think this episode had the emotional punch that I wanted it to have, which is maybe why I was a little bummed by it. But at the same time, it did set up, I think, a next season, which we're going to, I think, number one, reveal the whatever is going on Mandalore, because they just say the planet's glass, the planet's gone, blah, 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 blah. We're going to figure out what's going on there. I think we're going to get something moving more towards reclaiming it from whatever is going on there, or maybe revealing the mystery of what's happening there. I think we're going to see maybe some more inklings into the First Order. And I don't know, we're going to figure out how we're going to get Baby Yoda back.
I also loved how much they leaned into the sort of cloning of, hey, we need something from this baby to give us something. Hey, it's going to be cloned. Like, we're very much believing they're making the Emperor here. I love how Dave Filoni just fills the gaps like that. He makes everything better. And like you said, Jeff, the sequel trilogy, I'm so high. I mean, you guys know how I feel about it. I couldn't be higher on the sequel trilogy. Love all three movies. This just feels like classic Star Wars. Like you said, it feels so original, and that's got to be the Dave Filoni effect. That's got to be the heir to the George Lucas throne. George Lucas says that this guy's like another son to him. Working under that guy for so long, seeing the way his brain works, and working with him as a fan, where you can come at it as, hey, I love Star Wars more than you can even ever understand, and then tell me how to make it. That's got to be where it comes from. So shout out Dave Filoni, shout out Jon Favreau, made 2020 and quarantine way better.
What was your favorite episode of the season, KenJac?
So we're going to do top three, or we're going to go
give one favorite. Give favorite episode.
Favorite's definitely Chapter 13. That's the Jedi, directed by Filoni. Get the introduction of Ahsoka. You have the Western samurai standoff happening at the same exact time. Amazing fight sequences, and at the same time, you get these tender Mandalorian and Baby Yoda moments. Great character development, great dialogue, great action. Everything you could ever want out of an episode of television. It was incredible.
I think my favorite really comes down between two. I love the premiere so much with the Krayt Dragon, with Cobb Vanth. I thought that whole Boba Fett storyline was fucking amazing. But the tragedy coming in late was, what a shock, what a surprise. The Robert Rodriguez episode, so many amazing moments in that one episode. And just as a Boba Fett fan myself, seeing the return of Boba there, couldn't have gotten better.
We all have three different ones. I'm going with The Heiress. That's the third one, directed by Jon Favreau, where you see Bo-Katan for the first time. I thought that one had some really cool moments, great action, had a very well done mix of a little bit of humor here and there with the Mon Cala sometimes. I thought the siege on the ship was badass too. I liked all the episodes to varying degrees, with the exception of the second, which I really didn't love, even though Frog Lady, kind of awesome. Buy the shirt. We do sell a hoodie. Yeah, Frog family, love always wins. But I like that we have all three different ones. I love this show. It is what it is at this point. It is a fun Star Wars show that is going to give you adventures and looks into the galaxy that if you're a Star Wars fan, you're going to be obsessed with it. And if you're not a Star Wars fan, there's still a ton of reasons to love it. And that's why we've seen so many people like it. And I hope it never becomes something that tries to be a Game of Thrones, like tries to be big, epic every week.
Never.
If it becomes that, I think I will start to potentially sour on it a little bit. Like I don't want that. I just want this action. And my only complaint about the show,
10 shows, right? Like make one of those.
Right. Do one of those. Make the Cassian Andor or whatever. I hope this show stays what it is. I kind of wish we got more episodes, but whatever. I won't complain more than that. Like I wish we had like 12 of these, but just I continue to have that big storyline that kind of stretches throughout, but like the little adventures and action moments that take place episode to episode. That's what you love. Like you just, as a Star Wars super fan, I crave that. Awesome season, but now it's over. Now I gotta wait a fucking year. That's stupid.
Yeah,
that's
lucky
dumb.
us.
That's dumb. Release something. Just make something quick. I don't know. I was actually stunned when the Boba Fett thing at the end, this is the Book of Boba, was like coming summer 2021 or like December. Like, motherfucker. Are you serious? Yep. Whatever. Thank you for watching these. We will be back for these like in a few weeks for WandaVision.
Yeah.
We're going to, there's a ton of shows coming out. I don't know the level of which we can do all of these. It's just going to become too much. We will find a way to do it though, at least for WandaVision and then Falcon Winter Soldier. And then we'll see what happens after that. But we'll be back for these in a few weeks for WandaVision, which apparently is a massive, massive part of the MCU now in terms of the breaking the universe into this split dimension and everything. So
prediction that is going to be much more complicated to break down than Mandalorian.
Absolutely. I don't know I know Marvel, but I don't know the comic books well. I know Star Wars very well. I have to do a lot of research for Marvel stuff because I only learn as I watch. So we'll see. That's it for Robbie Fox and KenJac. Definitely make sure to hit the like button, hit subscribe as well so you'll know when we're dropping the WandaVision stuff. Thanks for watching. Talk to you in a few weeks.